Hey everyone, so today we're doing political party notes. So your objective is I can identify the main functions of a political party. So we've already watched the video and now you're going to be following along and taking notes in your guided notes. So anything that's underlined is something that you should be filling in your blanks. So what are political parties? A political party is an association of voters with common beliefs about politics and the role of the government. So they're kind of unified behind their ideology. So anyone can join. You just declare yourself a member. You can register formally to be a part of a party, but for the most part, it's just a generic, like you affiliate with one side or the other. So, what do political parties do? They compete for control of the government. That's a big part of your test. They want you to know that they compete for control of the government. So, I would star that, highlight it, however you need to. And they also try to influence government decision making by getting their candidates elected. That's how you control the government. You are competing with each other in an election, and whoever wins has that control. So they also provide a link between citizens and elected officials because they are people that we choose, and they are just common people. They're not like royalty in other countries. So, some functions of the political parties: getting candidates elected, that's their main goal, so they can identify and recruit electable candidates. They raise money for campaigns and organize meetings and rallies to generate enthusiasm so they can pay for ads, they can do anything that they think is going to benefit their party and get someone elected, raising that awareness. They also sponsor Get Out the Vote events to remind or even register their supporters to vote on election day. So they set up little tables, they go to parades, they go to schools, and they make sure that everyone that's able to vote gets registered. They can also educate the public, so they bring important issues to the public's attention. They raise awareness for things that they are passionate about. Maybe it's education, maybe it's gun rights, maybe it's immigration, and they publish their positions on these issues. So the candidates present their views in this way however they want to. So ads, maybe they give a speech, maybe they use their social media accounts, but being on one side of an issue is called their platform. So each party has different things that they believe in, and that is their stance when it comes to that issue. They also involve people in the political process. So parties set goals by listening to what people say they want from the government. So the people for Missouri listen to what the citizens want, and then they use that to set their own agendas. They encourage people to get involved in their campaigns. Maybe they ask you to help register voters. Maybe they ask you to donate money. Maybe they want you to be someone that runs the election booths on election day. A lot of these are volunteer positions that students can get involved in once you're a senior in high school, and that is something that you can definitely be doing to get involved if you're passionate about it. Another function is they operate the government. So the party acts as a link between the legislature and the chief executive, which is the president. So the chief executive works through the party leaders in the legislature or Congress to promote the administration's program. So the president obviously has things he really wants to get done, and that is something that he can push through Congress. And then party leaders work hard to make sure their members support the party's position when they consider legislation. So if everyone's Republican, they should generally be supporting issues that are big parts of the Republican platform or agenda. So if there's something that comes forth about taxes and cutting those taxes, that is something that they really support. Okay. Another function is dispensing patronage. Patronage is just political favors given to reward hard work and loyalty or support. So you give money to, or rewards, or, oh, I'll vote for this, like, bill in Congress if you help me in with my bill in Congress. So they give political favors for those people that they seem or decide have really earned it. So developing and implementing policy is the next one, where they put the party's plans to work. So once it passes, they implement the law. They make sure it's being used. Parties can also act as a government watchdog. This means that the party that's not in power, so the smaller party, they keep a close eye on the other one. They want to make sure that the other one is up to par, that they're following the rules, that they're not breaking any laws, and they criticize and point out mistakes. They may offer their own solutions in hopes of attracting that voter support in future elections. So that's why midterms, a lot of the time, power will shift to the other party because something has happened in the 2 years that they decide and use to play up as an issue, and then people kind of vote the other way. They also can force the parties in power to be accountable and pay attention to the will of the people. That's kind of the role of being a watchdog. You're like, hey, you're not doing the job you said you were going to do. and this is what we think you should do instead. So it's really just making them own up to what they said they were going to do. Now, there's obviously two major parties that everybody knows. They know the Democrats and the Republicans, but there's also third parties. Any party other than those two major ones is considered a third party or a minor party. These believe neither of the majority parties are going to meet everyone's needs, so they usually don't fall in the right or the left category. Third parties have never won a presidential election, and they rarely win major elections. It's really, really difficult for them to do that just because there's never enough support. Most people are going to fall with either Republican or Democrat. There's not enough people that vote third party for them to ever win. They can influence policymaking. If they gain enough support, one of the major parties will usually adopt it because clearly enough people back them. So some examples are the Populist Party proposed child labor laws and a 40-hour work week. And that was something that a separate third party wanted really badly, and enough people supported it that the Democrats formally adopted it. So that was back during the late 1800s when they were having young kids working in factories, and that was something that was a really big issue. So a big party adopted it. Third parties can also affect the outcome of major elections. So Ross Perot gets 19% of the vote in 1992. Many Republicans voted for him instead of Bush, which may have helped Clinton win the election. So all the people that 19% that voted for Perot, they kind of drew the vote away from the Republicans because there's not enough people voting that one way. So Clinton ends up winning because they kind of steal some of those votes that would normally have gone to Bush. So that's kind of what they can do. They can kind of suck some votes. Even though they never have enough to win, they have enough to make a different party lose. Now there's different types of third parties. There are single issue parties, which are there to promote one major issue, like that they are super passionate about. They're not trying to win an election. They don't even care. They don't usually last long because they're only worried about their issue. So the example being the Prohibitionist Party in the 20s. They were super duper passionate about not having alcohol. They wanted it banned. They wanted everyone to have to follow certain rules. And they decided that that is how they were going to do it. They were going to only be focused on that one issue. And ultimately, that ends up becoming an amendment, right? You guys learn about that amendment, the 18th Amendment, banning the sale of alcohol. So then they no longer need to be a party because their issue got resolved. There's also ideological parties that focus on changing society in major ways. So some examples, their ideology being the Communist Party USA supports government ownership of factories, transportation resources, obviously, as the communist theory promotes, right? That's the ideology of the Communist Party. The Libertarian Party wants to limit the size of the government and emphasize individual freedoms. That is their ideology. Their idea is socially changing the way that our government works, okay? So ideological parties really are just trying to make some major change. Then there's splinter parties that can form after a disagreement within the major party. So such a popular figure failing to win that party's presidential nomination, the party fades away when the candidate loses. So they may have a really, really strong party that is not one of the major two, but if they lose, then everyone kind of loses steam and doesn't want to support them anymore. Okay, so they can kind of splinter apart and fall apart. That one's a little bit more common sense. So there's some third parties in success. So why don't they have as much? Most voters support the major parties. They go with either Republicans or Democrats. So, and a lot of the time, the way it works in an election, it's a single member district, meaning there's only one winner. You can't split the votes and say the majority gets 5, the minority gets 3, and the last one gets 1. They all put all their votes with one party. So it's winner take all. And in most states, the third party candidates must obtain a large number of voter signatures even to get on the ballot. So you have to go around and go door to door and show that enough people support your candidacy to even get your name on the ballot to be voted on. It's also tough to raise enough money to compete against those big parties because they obviously have the major donors on lock. They are the ones that are going to give them the money. No one's donating money to a third party that's not going to win. So a lot of the time they don't have the best ads, they don't have the best media coverage, and then nobody also thinks they can win. So why would they contribute money and vote for them if they're not going to be a good investment? So the major parties being that we know, the Democrats, they believe in the federal government should be more directly involved in regulating the economy. They want to have a bit of a hand in that. and in providing housing, income, education, and jobs for the poor. They're really focused on social programs, and they've traditionally been associated with their commitment to support immigrants, blue-collar workers, women, and minorities. So they're kind of there for the underdog. They tend to take a more liberal stand on society's issues, hence they're also known as the liberals. And they believe government regulation of business and the economy is necessary to protect workers because they're worried about someone always having each other's back. So they want to make sure that they are there to support you. So they're really big on protecting the environment and workers' rights. On the flip side, there's the Republicans. They believe that the government that is best is the one that governs least. So they think the federal government shouldn't play a major role in your life. The less government regulation of business is the best way to promote growth. They're hands off. It's more of like monopoly. Everyone can kind of do what they need to do to make money, and that is going to make our economy grow because no one's messing with it. They also tend to take a more conservative stand on issues. That's how they are also known as the conservatives. They favor lower taxes and less government spending on social programs because they want that hands-off attitude. Now, why is it often hard to tell the difference? Because there's that moderate mainstream position that allows the parties to appeal to a large number of voters. That means you're kind of in the middle. You maybe lean more left with social programs, but maybe you lean right with your money and your way you wanting to spend money. So then you're a moderate, you're in the middle. And then what is a party platform? That's the series of statements expressing the party's principles, beliefs, and positions on important issues. So it's literally like a book that says, we believe this about guns, we believe this about healthcare, we believe this about taxes, and then it's drafted at the presidential nominating convention. So they draw it up when they're saying all of their candidacy is going to be backing this one person for Republicans and one person for Democrats. So then they draw up their beliefs. And it tells the voters what that party plans to do if they win. So if our candidate wins, we are going to do this, this, and this. If our candidate wins, we're going to change this, this, and this. So that is a party platform. It's what you stand on, right? When you win something, they have platforms that say first, second, third. That is what supports you and shows how you are going to do things when you win the election. So hopefully this helps you guys kind of understand a little bit of the differences between the two major political parties. And now that you're done taking your notes, you're going to kind of see where you fall. And you're going to take a little quiz to see kind of where your beliefs align with the different party platforms. Okay?